Welcome to another deep dive.
Oh, this is going to be a good one.
It is. Today, we're diving into a case.
Buckle up.
Yeah, a case full of alleged murders.
A prison break, too.
And decades of mystery.
Decades.
We're talking about,
Sharon Kinne.
Sharon Kinne.
Yeah.
And the big question.
The big one.
The one we're going to try and figure out is,
Okay.
was she a cold-blooded killer?
Carefully orchestrating every move.
Or was she?
An unlucky woman.
Just caught in a web of unfortunate events.
And you,
Speaking of
you provided us with some amazing
so.
sources
Yeah.
for this deep dive.
Oh, yeah.
Including
a big one.
excerpts from Ken's Wikipedia page.
Ooh. Wikipedia.
Let me tell you,
Tell me.
this is a story
Okay.
that'll keep you guessing till the very end.
What makes this case so intriguing is that, for decades, Sharon Kinne just disappeared.
Poof.
Gone. Even with a warrant out for her arrest.
Didn't they just recently, discover her true identity and everything? Yeah, it wasn't until very recently that they found out who she really was and where she ended up.
To understand how she was able to pull this off,
Yeah, how...
let's go back to the beginning.
All right, the beginning.
So Sharon Elizabeth Hall
Oh, I love a good middle name.
was born in Independence, Missouri
Missouri, okay.
in 1939.
All right.
Seems ordinary enough.
You just are so good.
But then,
Oh,
at just 16, she marries James Kinne.
16.
And here's the first red flag.
Ooh, I love red flags.
She lied on the marriage license.
Oh, no, she didn't.
She did, claiming to be 18
Wow.
and a widow.
A widow at 18. I know, that's a little suspicious.
Right.
Right from the start.
Like right from the start,
Yeah.
trying to create this new identity for herself.
Oh, absolutely. It's curious, isn't it?
Yeah.
So they moved to Utah,
Okay.
then back to Missouri,
Okay.
have 2 kids, Dana and Troy. But reportedly, Sharon had some expensive tastes
I see where this is going.
and maybe was involved in some, shall we say,
Extracurriculars.
extracurricular activities.
Yeah, sounds like there was already some trouble brewing.
Always.
Yeah. Then in 1960,
60.
tragedy strikes.
Oh, no.
James Kinne is found dead
Dead.
from a gunshot wound to the head.
Oh, my goodness.
Initially, it's ruled an accidental homicide.
Accidental.
Now, Sharon claimed their 2-year-old daughter,
Oh, kids.
Dana, accidentally shot James
While playing
while playing with his gun.
with a gun.
Yeah.
Oh, my goodness.
Now, this was a time
Back then.
when gun safety
Lower.
wasn't as emphasized as today.
Of course, yeah.
However,
However,
some details didn't add up.
they didn't.
There were no fingerprints on the gun. And Dana was known to play with James's firearms.
Okay.
Police even tested her ability to pull the trigger on a similar gun. She was able to do it.
A 2-year-old.
Yeah.
Wow.
So maybe it was a tragic accident.
Maybe.
But there are definitely some unsettling questions.
Unsettling for sure.
Then, just a few months later,
Oh.
things get even more complicated.
Are complicated.
The body
The body.
of 23-year-old Patricia Jones
Patricia Jones.
is found.
Okay.
And guess who the last person to see her alive was?
I bet I can guess.
Sharon Kinne.
Knew it.
And Patricia Jones was married to Walter Jones,
Walter Jones.
another man
Another man.
that Sharon was having an affair with.
Oh, so there's a pattern here.
It seems like there is.
Involved with men who were already, spoken for.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So now we've got 2 deaths,
2.
both connected to Sharon
Okay.
and both under very suspicious circumstances.
Very suspicious.
What happened next?
Well, I'll tell you.
Okay.
Sharon was arrested,
Arrested.
charged with both murders.
Oh, both of them.
Both.
Okay.
However,
That effect.
she was tried separately for each case.
Okay, separately.
Separately. And this is where the story really starts to
Roll.
spiral. Yeah, the trial's
Oh.
full of conflicting accounts, evidence that doesn't quite line up, and some unusual events.
For instance.
Well, in the trial for Patricia Jones's murder, a juror
A juror
asked Sharon for her autograph.
asked her for an autograph.
An autograph!
I know, right?
That's either some audacious confidence
Audacious.
or a bizarre
What
attempt to charm her way out of trouble.
do you think?
Oh, I don't know.
It's a peculiar
A
detail.
very peculiar.
It speaks to a potential pattern of manipulation.
Okay, I like that.
Remember, people who knew Sharon often described her as
Charming.
charming and likable.
Okay.
And that charm could have been a tool
A tool?
To gain trust.
Gain trust.
And evade responsibility.
Ooh, I see. So in this first trial...
This first one?
Sharon claims she dropped Patricia off.
Okay.
And saw her talking to a man in a green Ford.
Green Ford.
Yeah. There was also debate about the
time of death.
Yeah.
Which created doubt.
Doubt.
About the prosecution's timeline.
Oh, I see.
Ultimately, she was acquitted.
Acquitted?
Due to too many loopholes.
Too many loopholes.
In the prosecution's case, according to the jury.
The jury said that?
That's what they said.
Wow.
So, acquitted of one murder.
One down.
But the case for James's death was far from over.
Oh, absolutely not.
Right.
Absolutely.
So, Sharon faced 3 trials.
3.
For James's death.
3 trials.
Each with its own set of complications.
Oh, for sure.
The first resulted in a conviction and a life sentence.
Wow. Life sentence.
But it was overturned.
Overturned.
Due to procedural errors.
Procedural errors now.
For our listener who might not be familiar with legal jargon.
Yeah.
Can you explain what a procedural error is and why it matters?
Yeah. So it's kind of like playing a game where the rules are constantly changing, you know?
Right.
It wouldn't be fair. Procedural errors in a trial are like that.
Oh.
They mean that something wasn't done correctly according to the law.
So it's like they didn't follow the rules.
Exactly. And that's a big deal because everyone deserves a fair trial, you know?
A fair chance at justice.
Exactly.
Right. So back to square one.
Back to square one.
What about the second and third trial?
Second and third.
For James's murder.
Okay.
So the second trial ended in a mistrial.
A mistrial.
Because a juror had a connection to the prosecutor's law firm.
Talk about bad luck.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah.
And the third trial, where Sharon took the stand for the first time.
Oh, took the stand.
Denying any involvement.
Okay.
Resulted in a hung jury.
A hung jury.
So she was acquitted of one murder.
One.
And the jury couldn't reach a decision on the other.
Wow.
It seems like the legal system was having a hard time pinning anything on her.
They were.
What was next for Sharon?
A 4th trial was scheduled for James Kinne's death.
Oh, wow.
But before that could happen, Sharon made a daring move.
What did she do?
She fled to Mexico with Francis Samuel Pugliese.
Who's that?
Allegedly a lover of hers.
Oh.
Using the aliases Jeanette and Francis Pugliese.
Jeanette and Francis, okay.
Mr. and Mrs. Pugliese.
So she's on the run.
On the run.
A fugitive in Mexico.
A fugitive, yeah.
But trouble seems to follow Sharon, doesn't it?
Always.
Tell me what happened in Mexico City.
While in Mexico City,
a
man named Francisco Paredes Ordóñez was found dead in a hotel room.
Another one.
With Sharon present at the scene.
Oh, boy.
Once again, she claimed self-defense.
Self-defense.
Stating that Ordóñez made sexual advances.
Okay.
And she shot him to protect herself.
But wait, there's a huge twist in this case.
There is.
The gun used to kill Ordóñez was ballistically matched to the one that killed Patricia Jones.
What?
The same gun.
The same gun.
Was used in both cases.
Nope.
I know, right?
That's a huge twist.
Tell me more about this ballistics evidence.
Well, the police in Mexico had a different theory.
Okay.
They believed she was attempting to rob Ordóñez.
To rob him.
Yeah.
Okay.
Which led to the shooting.
Okay.
However, because Sharon had already been acquitted of Patricia's murder, double jeopardy prevented her from being tried again.
For our listener who might not be up on their legal terms.
Legal terms, yeah.
Can you give a quick explanation
of
what double jeopardy means?
Basically, it means you can't be tried for the same crime twice.
Okay.
It's a legal protection to prevent someone from being punished over and over again.
For the same offense.
For the same offense.
So, even though the gun linked Sharon to Patricia's murder, she was already acquitted.
She was.
Which prevented further prosecution in that case.
Exactly.
Wow, so double jeopardy saves her again.
Again.
What happened to Sharon and Pugliese
after
this incident in Mexico?
Well, Pugliese was deported back to the U.S.
Okay.
But Sharon wasn't so lucky.
Oh.
She was convicted of Ordóñez's homicide.
Okay.
And sentenced to 10 years.
10 years.
Which was later increased to 13.
13 years.
She even earned a nickname.
A nickname?
In the Mexican prison.
What was it?
La Pistolera.
La Pistolera.
Which translates to the gunslinger.
The gunslinger, wow.
I know.
Seems this woman
can't stay out of trouble.
Can't stay out of trouble, but wait.
Wait.
Didn't you say she escaped prison?
That's right, in 1969,
69.
during a prison blackout,
A blackout.
Sharon managed to escape.
Oh, my God.
The exact details
The details.
remain a mystery.
A mystery.
With theories ranging from bribed guards
Bribed guards.
to help from a supposed police officer boyfriend.
A police officer boyfriend.
Even her mother's involvement.
Oh, wow, really?
What we do know is that she vanished.
Again?
Once again.
Vast.
With authorities believing she had fled to Guatemala. This escape, along with her previous
legal maneuvering.
maneuvering,
Really raises questions about just how
calculated.
and cunning Sharon Kinne might have been.
She was something else.
Oh, she was.
So she escapes prison and disappears.
Poof.
Gone.
Did anyone ever find her?
Wow.
And what about that outstanding warrant
Outstanding warrant.
for James Kinne's murder?
That's a good question, and that's where the story takes a truly unbelievable turn.
Oh, I remember those recent discoveries.
The ones that blew your mind.
They did.
Tell me more about what happened.
Okay, so for decades,
Decades.
Sharon Kinne's whereabouts were a complete mystery.
A complete mystery.
The warrant for her arrest in James Kinne's murder remained active,
Remained active?
becoming one of the longest-standing
Longest standing?
felony warrants in U.S. history.
Wow.
But then, in 2025,
2025.
it was revealed
Reveal.
that Sharon had been living under the alias Deidre D. Globus.
Deidre Glabus. D. Glabus.
Neighbor Albert.
Alberta, Canada.
Canada.
From at least 1973 until her death in 2022.
Right.
She built a whole new life for herself.
A whole new life.
Under a new name.
New name.
In a new country.
New country.
And no one knew for almost 50 years.
50 years.
That's incredible.
Tell me more about this life she built.
Was she hiding?
Hiding?
Or was she living openly?
Openly.
Did she ever face any consequences?
Any consequences?
For her past?
Ooh.
We'll delve into all of that.
All of that.
And more.
And more.
When we continue our deep dive.
Okay.
After a quick word from our sponsors.
Sounds good.
Welcome back to our deep dive.
Back again.
Into the perplexing life of Sharon Kinne.
A perplexing life indeed.
Before the break.
We
left off with the stunning revelation that she had built a new life for herself.
A new life.
In Canada.
Canada.
Under the name Deidre D. Glabus.
Deidre D. Glabus. Evading detection.
Evade.
For almost 50 years.
Almost 50 years.
Tell me more about this life that she created.
Okay.
Was she constantly looking over her shoulder?
Looking over her shoulder?
Or did she manage to blend in seamlessly?
It's really remarkable how she was able to integrate herself into the community.
The community.
Of Taber, Alberta.
Taber, Alberta.
Sharon, or Dee, as she was known.
Dee.
Married twice more during those years.
2 times?
2 more times.
Wow.
She and her husbands owned and operated the Taber Motel.
The Taber Motel.
And also worked as realtors.
Realtors? Wow. It sounds like she built a pretty successful and seemingly ordinary life.
Ordinary.
Do we know anything about her personality during these years? Did anyone suspect her true identity?
According to reports from the CBC.
The CBC.
She was known for playing bridge.
Bridge.
And even served as the chair of a daycare center steering committee.
Wow, a daycare center steering committee.
I know, right?
That's pretty involved.
It seems she was well respected.
Well respected.
In her community.
So it sounds like she really was able to create this whole new persona.
What's really fascinating is that none of her Canadian acquaintances seem to have had any inkling of her past.
It makes you wonder.
It does.
Did she ever let her guard down?
Yeah. Did she ever confide in anyone?
Or was she living this constant performance?
A constant performance.
Always afraid of being found out.
That's a question we can only speculate on.
Right.
The sources we have don't reveal any instances of her past coming to light during her time in Canada. However, this ability to compartmentalize, to separate her past from her present life, is incredibly intriguing from a psychological perspective.
You've mentioned the psychological aspects of this case a few times.
A few times.
And we've seen a pattern here, right?
We have.
Suspicious deaths.
Suspicious deaths.
Alleged affairs.
Affairs.
Calculated escapes. It's hard not to wonder if there were some underlying psychological factors at play here.
Absolutely. One of the sources you provided, The Deadly Women episode on Sharon Kinne
Dead and women.
offers some compelling insights
Okay.
from experts who have studied her case.
Okay.
Author James Hayes, for instance,
James Hayes.
suggests that Sharon's first alleged murder
That of her husband, Jake.
was driven by financial gain.
Financial gain.
He believes she wanted to cash in on his life insurance policy.
So greed as a potential motive.
Greed. It's a classic motive.
That certainly aligns with the reported
spending
habits.
Spending.
But then she went on to be connected to other deaths.
Other deaths.
Could greed really explain all of it?
That's where the theory gets even more chilling.
Even more chilling.
Hayes goes on to propose that after that first alleged murder,
First one.
Sharon may have started to experience a sense of satisfaction,
Satisfaction.
even pleasure, from the act of killing.
You mentioned sociopathic tendencies earlier.
I did.
Is this what you're referring to?
It's definitely a possibility.
Okay.
Former FBI profiler Candace DeLong,
Candace DeLong.
also featured in the Deadly Women episode,
Okay.
believes that Sharon displayed traits consistent with sociopathy.
Socialist.
Specifically, she highlighted Sharon's apparent lack of empathy
Lack of empathy.
and remorse.
So you're saying she may not have felt any guilt
Any guilt.
for the deaths connected to her.
It's a tough concept to grasp, I know.
It is. Can you break down this idea of sociopathy a little further for our listener?
Sure, individuals with sociopathic tendencies often struggle to connect with the emotions of others.
Okay.
They might be incredibly charming
Charming.
and manipulative on the surface,
Okay.
able to blend in and gain people's trust.
Gain people's trust.
But underneath that facade,
Underneath.
there's a lack of genuine concern
Lack of concern.
for the well-being of others.
I see. And how does this relate to Sharon Kinne specifically?
Well,
Could her charm,
her charm.
as described by those who knew her,
Right.
have been a tactic for manipulation,
A tactic.
enabling her to evade responsibility time and time again?
That's exactly what DeLong suggests.
Okay.
She argues that this lack of conscience
Lack of conscience.
allowed Sharon to act without hesitation,
Okay.
deceive others,
Deceive.
and ultimately to escape accountability for years.
It's a disturbing thought,
It is.
but it does seem to fit with the pattern of behavior we've seen.
The pattern.
But what about her escapes?
Her escapes.
Twice she managed to break free from custody.
I know, it's incredible.
That takes a lot of planning and cunning, right?
Planning and cunning.
Do you think those escapes were impulsive
Impulsive?
or carefully orchestrated?
Her escapes were definitely not spur-of-the-moment decisions.
Okay.
They involved a level of foresight and planning
Foresight and planning.
that likely required assistance from others. Remember the theories about the bribed guards?
Right, the bribed guards.
The potential police officer boyfriend.
It's a police officer boyfriend.
Even her mother's alleged involvement.
Right.
It seems she had a knack for finding people who were willing to help her,
Willing to help.
perhaps even manipulating them without them realizing it.
It makes you wonder if she
Because she's
sought out these connections intentionally
intentionally
or if she was simply opportunistic,
opportunistic.
taking advantage of situations as they arose.
That's a great question.
Yeah.
It's hard to know for sure without delving into her psyche,
Right.
but the pattern of manipulation does seem consistent
Throughout.
in her life.
So we've talked about possible motives
Motive?
like greed
Greed.
and explored this idea of sociopathic tendencies.
Sociopathic tendencies.
But were there any specific events or influences that might have contributed to Sharon becoming the person she was?
Well, there is one particularly intriguing detail
Intriguing detail.
mentioned in the Wikipedia excerpts.
Wikipedia excerpts.
You provided.
I know.
Apparently, Sharon may have been inspired to kill her first husband
Her first husband.
after reading a magazine article
A magazine article.
about a woman named Lillian Chastain.
Lillian Chastain. Okay, who is Lillian Chastain?
Okay, so Lillian Chastain was a woman from Virginia
Virginia.
who shot her husband during an argument
Shot her husband.
and then blamed their 2-year-old daughter.
Blamed her 2-year-old daughter.
The charges against her were filed just weeks before James Kinne's death.
Oh, wow. The parallels are
Striking.
striking.
Yeah.
Both cases involved young wives,
Young wives,
gunshot deaths,
gunshot death
and attempts to pin the blame on toddlers.
on toddlers. Wow.
You mentioned that Sharon may have been inspired by this case.
Inspired.
Are you suggesting that she saw it as a blueprint for getting away with murder?
That's what it sounds like.
It's certainly a possibility.
Yeah.
Imagine coming across a story like that.
Especially if you were already contemplating a similar act.
Right.
It could plant a seed,
Plant a seed.
providing a framework
Framework.
for how to carry out such a plan
Wow.
and potentially escape consequences.
That's a pretty chilling thought.
It is chilling.
Yeah, it suggests a level of premeditation,
meditation.
calculation that is truly unsettling.
Unsettling.
Could reading about the Lillian Chastain case
The Lillian Chastain case.
have been a tipping point for Sharon,
A tipping.
pushing her toward this path
This path.
of violence and deception?
It's impossible to say for sure,
Right.
but it's definitely a question worth pondering.
It seems like every time we uncover a new layer of this story,
A new layer?
more questions arise. It's a real testament to the complexity
Of human nature.
Human nature. But before we get too philosophical here,
Too philosophical.
we still have a lot to unpack.
We do.
We've discussed Sharon's life on the run,
On the right.
her potential motives,
Hood.
and the psychology behind her actions.
The psychology.
But there's one more piece
One more piece
of this puzzle
of the puzzle.
that we haven't fully explored,
Fully explored.
and that is how she was ultimately discovered.
Discovered.
After all these years.
Stay tuned as we delve into the final chapter of this captivating and often perplexing case.
Perplexing.
We'll be right back after a quick word from our sponsors. Welcome back to the Deep Dive. We're wrapping up our exploration of Sharon Kinne's life and alleged crimes.
It's been a wild ride.
It has been a wild ride. So we've covered a lot of ground.
Deaths, escapes.
The decades spent living under an assumed identity.
Yeah.
But there's one final piece of this puzzle we need to discuss.
Okay.
How did her past finally catch up with her after all these years?
You might assume it was some cutting-edge forensic technology or a dedicated cold case team, right?
Yeah.
That finally cracked the case, but the truth is far more intriguing. I love a good twist. So what was it? What finally unraveled Sharon Kinne's carefully constructed facade?
It all came down to an anonymous tip.
Really?
Someone, somewhere,
Okay.
knew Sharon's true identity.
Wow.
And decided to share that information with the authorities.
So after all these years, a simple act of conscience brought her past to light.
It's all right.
Wow, that's amazing.
It really is.
And a bit unsettling too, right?
It is, yeah.
Do we have any clues about, about who this person might have been?
Unfortunately, no.
Or what motivated them to come forward?
We don't know if it was someone from her past, someone who knew her in Canada, or maybe someone who just stumbled upon her story and connected the dots.
So it's a reminder that even in today's hyper-connected world,
Hyper-connected.
with all our technology and data,
data.
sometimes it's a simple human act that can change everything.
Absolutely.
Makes you think about the ripple effects of actions. How even years later, a single decision can have profound consequences.
Absolutely.
Sharon Kinne managed to evade justice for decades,
It's true.
building this seemingly normal life. But in the end, her past still caught up with her.
It did.
It's a classic case of truth prevailing, even if it takes a long time.
Classic case.
So Sharon Kinne's story has been a whirlwind.
A whirlwind.
Of twists and turns and unanswered questions.
For sure.
It's a story that I think forces us to confront the complexities of human nature.
Human nature.
The allure of true crime. And the enduring power of secrets.
The power of secrets.
We've examined the facts, explored the possible psychological motivations, and pondered the implications of her life on the run.
Yeah.
But as with many true crime cases,
Many.
we're left with more questions than answers.
That's the nature of these deep dives, isn't it?
It is. We can analyze the evidence.
Offer expert opinions.
And try to piece together the puzzle.
A puzzle.
But ultimately, we can never truly know what was going on inside Sharon Kinne's mind.
That's right.
Did she ever experience genuine remorse for her actions?
Mm-hmm.
Did she ever yearn for a different life? Free from the weight of her past?
Yeah.
Did she ever confess her secrets to anyone during those years in hiding?
Good question.
These are questions that will likely remain forever unanswered.
Probably, and maybe that's what makes this story so captivating.
Yeah, what do you think?
It's a narrative with gaps, a mystery without a definitive conclusion. It allows us to speculate,
Right.
to grapple with the
often unsettling uncertainties of the human heart.
Human heart.
So as we wrap up this deep dive,
Okay.
I'm curious to hear your final thoughts.
Final thoughts.
What aspects of Sharon Kinne's story resonated most with you?
What struck me most was the duality of her character. She was described as charming and likable,
Right.
yet capable of great cruelty.
Yeah.
She was a master manipulator, able to evade capture and reinvent herself.
Right.
Yet she was ultimately brought down by a simple act of
A
conscience.
simple act.
It's a story that defies easy categorization, leaving us to ponder the intricate interplay of nature and nurture, choice and circumstance.
I completely agree. Sharon Kinne's story is a reminder that even the most ordinary-seeming individuals can harbor extraordinary secrets.
It's true.
It's a story that challenges our assumptions, reminds us to be discerning, to question what we think we know, and to never underestimate the complexities of the human heart.
Well said. If there's one overarching takeaway from this deep dive,
Takeaway?
it's that the past is never truly gone.
Never truly gone.
It can resurface in unexpected ways, shaping the present and influencing the future.
Absolutely.
Sharon Kinne's story serves as a cautionary tale, reminding us that actions have consequences,
Consequences
that truth has a way of emerging,
emerging.
and that the choices we make can have a profound impact on our lives and the lives of those around us.
This case has certainly given us all a lot to think about.
A lot to think about.
Thank you for joining us on this journey into the captivating and often perplexing world of Sharon Kinne.
My pleasure.
Until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep the conversation going.